Hello, everyone. This is Venom, and I am back again with Hex.
How's it going?
Hey. So, yeah, today we've had actually, it's been the last 2 days, I think. So I think As Across the video came out yesterday, and then we got the live stream today. So I'm gonna just explain what's happened, and then we'll go from there. So, of course, Bungie is currently doing their... Sorry, I had a bunch of other stuff. I gotta close up my Crunchyroll real quick. So Bungie they're doing like 3 different live streams over the next 3 weeks to reveal shit for End of the Light event. And Astacross also put out a video yesterday. We do not know, I'm gonna go ahead and say now, we do not know if it's, factual or not. He also mentioned he does not know if it's factual or not. But he just let us know what happened. Long story short, we're getting information about Into the Light. And we're getting some information kind of behind the scenes about what's going on with Sony and Bungie. And as you were just saying, Hex, it's not looking good Bungie. And looking through the comments of some of the, I've been looking through the comments of the live stream today. Like, that's what I was looking at a minute ago. The comments, like what they showed on live stream today was like basically just some of the information for the new activity. The comments are eating them alive right now. For a couple of reasons. One, because what they're showing us is not what you'd expect or not really doing it for people. And then 2, I get to that in a little bit, because that's a bit more off topic, but there was some weirdness in there. But let's go ahead and start with what you had earlier, or what you had first. Like, you mentioned that it's looking bad for Bungie. Go ahead and let's start with you.
Yeah, but where do you want to start? Through the alleged video from Astacross, or do you want to start with the live stream itself?
I'll tell you what. I give a bit of background, and then we'll start with the Astacross video. So right now, for those who don't know, Bungie and Sony are basically partnered up right now. So Bungie, of course, they own Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has been a huge game. Sony's like, let me get on some of that good stuff, and they invested in their studio. Right now, Bungie is still technically in charge of their own studio. However, if things go awry, Sony can take them over, and that's what Bungie's trying not to do. Now, of course, with the release of Lightfall and just how bad they've let down their audience, with the layoffs, pissing out the community even more, with Bungie failing to follow through on promises and giving us the content we want with the sunsetting. We mentioned before that Bungie's basically painted themselves into a corner right now, and Sony is not happy about it. And it's not the developers that really are at fault. It's mainly the leadership from what we're hearing, and anyone who's worked in, any kind of corporate structure and knows what's going on, it can probably easily point out, like, yeah, I can see exactly where some of these changes are coming from, and you can see exactly why the community is mad. And Bungie, or I should say Destiny 2, has a very, very large and very vocal community, sometimes to its detriment, but for the most part, it's a very good community, and they don't like when their game is screwed over, and they don't like when the developers get screwed, and the layoffs are just the longest, or one of the newest things to happen with that. The community hadn't forgot about that, and then we're getting additional information on top of that. So that's what's currently going on with Bungie. They're trying to struggle to hold on to their studio, not getting taken over by Sony. Go ahead and take it away with the info we just got. And again, this is alleged. This is on Astacross. I got his video up right now, playing in the background. But this is, as of yesterday, what Astacross was talking about. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of read it sort of verbatim, and then we'll kind of discuss it point by point. So if I mess something up, it's not on us, it's on somebody else. Anyways, internal perspective at Sony is very negative towards Bungie right now. It is seen as a failed investment, and strategies being discussed revolve around more of recouping losses. One internal leader from the U.S. branch of Sony is fighting to take over to right the ship, while many others across the Pacific, aka Japan, Sony Japan, on a more harsher method. The unnamed former U.S. leader holds a lot of respect on the overseas leadership, and it's likely that he or she will get their way. From that person's perspective, there are many gluttonous executives at Bungie who are not doing their jobs and are hindering the organization. It is believed that the workers are skilled, but leadership is unable to perform their duties.
Now that right there, is the part that I know if, and again, assuming this is all true, it's still speculation, it's still an alleged insider, so we don't know if this is true or not, but assuming this is, and I have no reason to believe it's not, coming from someone who's worked in a corporate background and seeing what's happened with Bungie all these years, this is information that was obviously would be scaring the crap out of Bungie right now, and by Bungie, I mean Bungie execs. This would definitely be scaring the crap out of the Bungie execs right now, and give the community a cause for celebration, since the email would also go on to say that they want to try to nurture the game. It's just a matter of how they want to do it. Yeah, Bungie is definitely probably crapping themselves right now. We've had plenty of reports that the leadership has hindered development in certain ways. There's been a lot of decisions, monetization and story-wise are just really terrible. At this point, there's been too many controversies with Bungie and what's going on with their story, what's going on with Destiny 2 specifically, to even name them all. Like every few months, every year, there's like a whole new set. Like every year, there's a totally different set. And then as the year rolls over, there's another set and you forget what happened before. Like this year, it's all about the layoffs. It's all about the Final Shape not having enough sales. It's all about there not being enough pre-orders for Final Shape. Lightfall not having enough sales. It's all about the Final Shape not having nearly enough pre-orders to keep them going. It's all about more weird Eververse stuff being pushed. And it's like, as we keep going, they're digging themselves worse and worse in. Now, I mean, what do you think about Sony taking over? Because Sony's also, let's not forget, Sony's not necessarily a saint in all this. Like, I was looking up some stuff about this earlier. I mean, Sony has also just laid off a bunch of people this year as well, too. In fact, they got an article put out from Sony Interactive. So this PlayStation community means everything to us, so I felt it was important to update you on a difficult day at our company. We have made the extremely hard decision to announce our plan to commence a reduction of our overall head count globally by 8% or about 900 people. That is huge. So in a time of recession right now, Sony is definitely, everyone's basically laying people off, but Sony is also laying people off. They're seeing that Bungie is basically destroying their game, and a game that should be able to make a lot of money right now. And they're laying people off. They see this as a failed investment. What are your thoughts?
I do agree that that Sony is not really a saint in all of this. They're just as guilty as Bungie, but from a Destiny player's perspective, they will probably be seen as a savior to the Destiny community, because we have seen throughout the years that the Bungie leadership is just not getting what people want them to do. That they don't understand what the community's wants and needs, and they're not delivering on those wants and needs. So at this point, even Sony, which is not exactly altruistic or benevolent, will be seen as some sort of good guy, as the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, and that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
Community sentiment in community sentiment throughout the social media is basically, please save us, Sony. That should be the biggest red flag of them all.
Well, and here's another one too. I'll read the next part of the email too, because this is something else that was going to be hit too. The second or next part of the email that you're reading says Bungie's in a hard spot because pre-order numbers are lower than they anticipated. Me and you talked about that last time. How I think they only got like a quarter of the pre-orders that like Witch Queen had, and a lot of people are basically saying we're not pre-ordering your game again until we see how it looks and what it looks like, when it actually comes out. Even Astrocross went to go talk about how his doctor plays Destiny 2 and he refused to buy it until about a week when it's been released and he can see what it actually looks like. But it goes on to say, I apologize, I do not have details on actual numbers. Sony believes that the finances will not allow Bungie to avoid a takeover, even with another round of layoffs, and that would cannibalize development and future revenue. And that's the other thing too. A lot of Bungie's future, a lot of what they're hoping on is for things. I didn't even know what the hell the game Gummy Bears was. I didn't know that was in development. I know Marathon, we talked about that it's in development. It's supposed to be the extraction, extraction shooter?
Well, We'll get onto it. Get onto what's going on with Marathon later on, but yeah, Marathon and an unnamed NetEase video game, because like back during Forsaken, NetEase made a $100 million investment in Bungie to while they were still under contract with Activision Blizzard to at least finance some sort of Bungie created game. I think that has never surfaced. Most people have considered that particular Phantom game that has never come out might be codename Matter.
Well, Astacross mentioned another game called Gummy Bears during his video, so maybe that's it, or maybe it's a codename. Because he mentioned two games. He mentioned Marathon, and he mentioned a game I'd never heard of before called Gummy Bears. So maybe that's a code word. There was I'm looking for the screenshot that he had pulled up now.
Possibly. I can't really say much about it.
But regardless of what the game is, they were basically propping up these games, or they were basically using Destiny 2 to fund these games. And if Bungie is getting taken over by Sony, and if they're going to end up gutting, or if they even try to lay stuff off, that's going to affect development of those other projects. It basically becomes a domino effect to where Destiny 2 doesn't do well, or if they've got to gut it or do layoffs, so if Sony takes them over, they may, I don't know if they would cancel those other projects outright. I don't know if they would. I think they basically say they're going to reallocate the teams. I think they'd probably cancel those two projects. I mean, frankly, possibly. I think Marathon's dead on arrival. That's just me. I'm not a PvP guy, but I don't know that. I know some people are saying they're excited for it. I don't think it's going to do very well. That's just me personally. After
the news of what happened today that we will discuss later on, there's whatever excitement was there is probably gone by now.
It's not one I've ever been really excited about. I know some people were, but it's definitely in jeopardy regardless right now. Again, if what we're seeing is correct, and I have no reason to think it's not right now because it pretty much lines up with everything we've been seeing with Bungie. Now,
exactly.
Aside from that email, and again, I've got the comments pulled up right now, and these are brutal. I've got the live stream, the developer live stream up. Did you watch any of this today?
I watched it from the beginning to end, and I tried my best to basically ignore the Twitch chat because it was word bomb. It was terrible.
It was bad. I'm looking through the comments right now. The comment section's not much better. I'm going to play this. You guys see the clip I was playing in the background. That cringy shit right now pretty much gives you an idea how most of the live stream went. They did this a couple times, by the way. So it wasn't just one time. I think they did this like twice. But I'm looking through here. I'm seeing comments about the activity itself. I'm seeing, I guess for a start off, so there are 3 live streams that are going to be leading off the Into the Light expansion coming out in April. That's going to be like the quote-unquote mid-season expansion, not really expansion, free stuff that we're going to be getting while we're waiting for Final Shape to come out because of the delay. Again, we got one for Witch Queen. I think it was a 30th year anniversary event that came out before Witch Queen, or I think it was a year before, but it was something similar. We're getting something to break up the 6 months between the expansions, or the last season and the newest expansion.
Yeah.
And this first one, they basically showed us gameplay of the new event. And aside from the stream itself being somewhat cringe, and that's what was talked about a bit, I mean, even if we don't talk about it, that is one thing I'm not necessarily going to harp too much on. I know developers kind of have their own community. I can't really harp on that too much. I used to be in theater, and they have their own weird community, so every community's got like its ins and outs and maybe some eccentric people, or they, act a certain way. I can't really say much about developers, so I don't know how weird, or if they thought some of the stuff they were doing was cool or anything like that. But I will talk about the gameplay. And even the gameplay itself, it's disappointing for a couple of reasons. I'm not saying it's going to be bad, because it could be very fun. But I am disappointed so far from what I've seen. I'm not saying that it's not going to be fun to play once I get my hands on it. But I'm disappointed in it for 2 reasons. One, because it looks like it's just Defense from Warframe again. It's just Defense of Warframe with some Gambit mixed in. And then 2... I'm upset because it's basically another defense mission in another game that's not just a survival. Like, every game I see that's got like a survival mission where you could take like your awesome builds. And the 2 big ones I've got are Warframe and Destiny 2, where you can make some awesome builds, do some crazy stuff, and you can actually go in and do some kind of survival mission and see just how long you can last. But instead of letting you do that and just survive as long as you can, they've got to add in some bullshit mechanic to distract you from that. So it's not just about you and surviving, like, Call of Duty, zombies or something like that. You've got to add in some other bullshit. Hey, defend this point, or hey, you've got oxygen slowly going down, so you've got to collect the stuff as you're doing it. No, they've got to add in some other additional mechanic versus, hey, here's some old school Halo. If you die, you're done shit, and just go do it. That's what I wanted, and that's once again another game is taking that from me by giving us, hey, here's a survival mode. But you gotta defend this point. Well, it's not only survival mode, it's a defense mission then. I fucking hate defense missions.
Tower defense, basically.
Yeah, tower defense. I think some people were saying it's like Titanfall 2. Now, I didn't play Titanfall 2, but they have akin this to Titanfall. Let me get the correct mission type.
I also attribute it to Warframe's defense. Yeah. But
here we go. They said Onslaught is literally frontier defense from Titanfall 2, but without Titans and wall running.
I'm going to take the word for it.
Yeah, I'm taking the Warframe. Yeah, I gotta take the word for it too. I never played Titanfall 2, but I definitely agree. It just is reminiscent of Warframe defense, and it's unfortunate. Like, it is unfortunate because I was really hoping for just a mode to where I could just hop in my Guardian. We could hop in with our best builds, our weapons, and just see how long we can survive against just hordes of enemies. Not worry about having to protect point A from point B and toss stuff into point B and then slamming, the 2024 mode of the year from Gambit into whatever the mode collector is this year. Instead, we basically got, once again, let's face it, essentially Gambit again. Gambit with a lot of extra steps.
Basically, you weren't playing Destiny during Forsaken, right?
Mm-mm.
So it's basically the forges from Black Armory.
Yeah, I played the forges. They were still around when I came back. Yeah,
it's basically like the forges.
It's like the forges without the payoff.
Kind of. It's much better because at least at the end of a certain amount of waves, you do get a reward. As opposed to you have to do 5 different steps that involve you going back and forth to the tower just to get one gun. This time you can get multiple guns or multiple armor piece, multiple gear as multiple pieces of loot.
Yeah, which is also disappointing because we didn't get to see much of that in the stream today. Like, we saw some gear, but most of what they were using is stuff like, I think the hand cannon might have been different or it might have been from Prophecy, but most of what we saw is already in game, including one of the drops I saw that caused basically a freaking hornet's nest in the damn chat when a new version of the Hung Jury popped up.
That was the bit that I didn't see it at the moment because I think while that was popping up, the chat was going crazy, so I really couldn't see what dropped. So I only saw it in passing after it was just a VOD at that point. So I did see it like, uh-oh. But the weapon that the main point of view of the live stream was, he was using the Midnight Coup from Leviathan.
Okay.
A new version of it with improved stats and a more interesting role of Firefly kinetic tremors.
Which, right there we go. I got to pull it up right now. Here we go. On the live stream at 45 minutes, he gets another drop of the Hung Jury. This one looks kind of weird. It's got some weird stripes on it. Or I should say it's colored differently. Hung Jury SR4, that's the kinetic weapon. It's just got a different, I guess that's a symbol for the end of the light symbol right there. So I got to pull it up right now, and it looks different.
It's got a swirl on the front of the image, right?
Yeah, it's got. I'm looking at it now. As a matter of fact, it's got the achievement that popped up. So many waves. It's got. It looks like a tower with a light on top of it, and a couple small lights on the side. So I guess that's like the symbol for the season. So
yeah. I'm assuming that the reason why they weren't talking too much about that particular weapon was because I think in last week's TWAB they kind of made it known that the weapons that you earn in Trials of Osiris, Guardian games right now, the new Nightfall weapons, and the stuff from Prophecy, all of that will be along with the new gear, with the refurbished gear into the light will have some form of
Adept perks or
Okay,
something.
no, enhancement perks.
Enhancement perks, that's right. Enhance, not adept.
Instead of crafting these weapons, you can now enhance them.
Yeah, it listed all those.
It listed most of these particular activities that I just mentioned, plus the new stuff. So the new midnight coup, what people are what people are theorizing, and what Bungie has mentioned, kind of like coyly, is that certain crucible weapons that will not be named, that totally aren't recluse or mountaintop, will be refurbished, and we will be able to do enhance the perks.
Now that
in some way.
Yeah, that'd be pretty damn cool. I won't lie about that one. But so far, it's all just now, and there's nothing I'm necessarily upset about, depending on the weapons you're getting back. But yeah, all refurbished, reissued weapons. A lot of which, again, was from Sunset, and their whole ploy for getting us to stick around is to give us the stuff we already had before, but, with different perks. And don't get me wrong, if they hadn't sunset the stuff before, the new releases with the new perks would still be good. Don't get me wrong. So at that point, all those weapons still probably would have been obsolete at this point. They still would have needed to have been reissued. But the fact still remains, is still a slap in the face that their whole big plan was, hey, here's more reissued gear that we probably would have been reissuing at the same time anyway, mixed in with this horde mode that's not really a horde mode, but I mean, you got to defend this thing, but it's iffy. I've seen people in the comments that were saying, hey, give it a chance. And don't get me wrong, this is supposed to be a free update. I'm not necessarily going to say that's a good or bad thing, because, again, we've got delays on here. They've still taken plenty away from us. So I'm not saying that giving us a free update makes up for anything, because it's still not even close to what they've taken away from us. And I think at one point, what was it, like a few months ago, they said that all the stuff that was sunset out of the game has now spent longer out of the game than it was in the game. That's depressing. So it's not like the stuff that we've lost has been made up for it anyway, because even with all the refurb or the reissued gear, even with the new stuff coming in for free, it's not even close to the money value that we've already sunk into it if you've been playing from the beginning. Not even close to it. We're still missing a lot, not to mention all the story stuff we talked about, which we won't get into today, but it's not even close to what we're already missing. So, but as far as activity goes, I saw plenty of comments that said, yeah, it looked all right, give it a chance. For the most part, and I'm going to go and start through the comments now, most of what I see here is just, no one's really too happy about it. I wish I used a map from the event that Traveler became whole again. Keep in mind, we don't know what all the maps are for this Shadow or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's also 3-player activity, so no word on that 12-player activity. I think that was supposed to be in the final shape, though, right?
Yeah, that's what the rumor is, that that Bungie's been kind of tweaking how the player count and the background, and kind of they're gonna release that during the final shape, and kind of tied with the final shape epilogue, that you finish the campaign, you beat the raid, and then after you beat the raid, instead of you getting kicked to orbit once you finish it, it will immediately yoink you into a 12-player activity to quote-unquote kill the witness once and for all, because even the raid will not be enough to beat it.
There we go. There's some comments from the thing here. It says, the fact that it took years and years to add horde mode to Destiny is wild. It's shit. People have been requesting a horde mode in Destiny since 2014, and people in the comments are acting like we should be grateful that they finally did it and aren't charging $100 for it. Very good point. I'm happy it came regardless, but this is a no-brainer. Instead, we got Gambit. Spur Racing should come back as well. They really need to make Destiny a mini-game hub. A Forge mode in Destiny would keep this game alive forever. Honestly, this should be the new map update. Honestly, this should be the new updated Midtown map for Crucible. That would have been a lot. This definitely would have been a better Crucible map, I think. That definitely would have helped the PvP players, giving these up for a Crucible map. Surprised I played this for 1 hour. Literally could have finished in 10 minutes. Yes, it didn't look that difficult, to be honest.
Let's see. We'll see when we play.
We'll do one more. Here's a big one. As much as I love Horde mode and I love this game, I'll agree that this was indeed boring to watch. It definitely was boring to watch. I really wish they did more things about stuff that we have questions for. That should be coming up. The answer is yada yada. Okay, so that's just.
I mean, that's the reason why they're splitting this up into three.
And yeah, they're splitting it up. And I thought it was going to be an hour-long stream. I didn't know they were going to be playing the exact same thing the entire time, and I zoned out halfway through because they really were not talking about a damn thing. Like, they talked about, like, your inspirations for this shit and yada yada. I was like, this is not what people want to hear right now. Like, I thought they'd be talking about the obviously the activity that we're going to be doing. I thought they'd be talking more about the gear that's going to be coming out. I am scared that this is all they really got, and that the next stream is just going to be about the weapons they got, and then something like the next stream is going to be like the armor they got. Like, it's so little content or so little we're getting, and they're trying to stretch what little they've got into 3 streams. And that's my prediction for this, that they have so little that they're going to try to stretch it between the different streams. And that is a very disheartening thing to think about, because this activity is our next 3 months.
Do you remember? Do you have any recollection of when they announced Into the Light? Like, when we're gonna get that?
Didn't they say April 9th? I think you mentioned the day that was coming out.
No, I'm not. When did Bungie kind of announce, hey, we're delaying the game, we're delaying the final shape.
Oh.
In the meantime, Into the Light's gonna happen, because between that and Into the Light will determine how long was it. Because I'm pretty sure the reason is because it feels so scarce, is because development takes time.
Well, yeah, and they obviously, when they chose to delay it, they weren't developing something else for the delay. It was a while. Honestly, I don't remember when I first heard about Into the Light. It was honestly kind of random when I just started hearing about it. I remember last year when they delayed it, and everyone was like, okay, we kind of saw this coming. I remember that because they were in the midst of another controversy at the time. But I remember the delay. And we had mixed feelings about that. Into the Light kind of snuck up on me. I don't remember the exact time they announced that one. And I definitely agree that development takes time, so this horde mode, not a horde mode, to quote a YouTuber, yeah, I get that this takes some time. In the meantime, there's still plenty of stuff they could be doing in the meantime, most of which we talked about before, and that is re-releasing some of the old stuff they already had, re-releasing some of the armor. I mean, a lot of this stuff is not necessarily stuff that should take development time. Even if they would just add the armor and weapons back to, say, and I'm not saying they should because that would be terrible, but even, let's say you added in all the old weapons and armor to the world loot pool, I can't imagine that would be too difficult to do. I mean, you update a few perks and some weapons, even if you didn't update the perks, you just tossed them in there and they all had random perks. Yeah, that would take some time. I can't imagine it would take that much time. Now, a new activity, yeah, that's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to flesh out. I understand that one completely. But what I don't understand is the old stuff that they've had, and unless they've deleted the shit, like, and part of me wonders too, if part of the reason, like if they sunset some of this stuff, realized it was a bad idea, and then maybe they deleted it or some stupid shit like that. Like, they deleted it, like, oh shit, we need it all back. Oh, we deleted it when we got rid of it, and they got to do it all again from the ground up. Part of me wonders if that might be the case. Part of me really wonders if that might be the case.
Hmm.
And now they've got to go back and recreate everything from scratch. That I would not put past them. I don't think that's the case, but it would not shock me if that's what happened. Otherwise, I don't know why they can't just re-release the old raids. They don't even have to bring us old maps, just re-release the raids. Granted, you have to download a bunch, but whatever. Forget downloading or the amount we got to store. Why can't they just re-release it? Yeah, they'd probably have some bug fixes to tweak. I know their code is basically spaghetti, but past that, is it really that difficult to put old content back in there? You don't got to put in any new mechanics or anything.
I don't think it's the problem. I don't think that the problem is the problem is that they probably need to the main reason is they haven't brought back everything at the same time is because they need to basically rebuild everything from scratch. Because when Beyond Light launched, they also kind of like rebuilt Destiny 2 sort of with a new sort of like global illumination, something to take advantage of the fact that the game's going to be more next gen I guess you could say, more suitable for PC players, like more global illumination, better textures, things of that nature. If my memory serves me right, that's the reason why. Like literally everything got sunsetted, not just because the memory issues was because they were basically trying to repave the foundation with a newer coat of paint. Did it work? Debatable.
Say, bro, I honestly don't even know the difference. I'd say probably not. I don't know the difference from before and now.
You can notice it. You can't notice it now, but there's a reason why a lot of stuff got sunsetted. That was mainly the reason. That was one of the two main reasons. We don't want the game to be at the 500 megabyte, the 500 gigs, basically turning your PlayStation and your Xbox into the Destiny machine. And we're trying new visual things to improve the look of the game, to kind of like give it a facelift.
Yeah.
And it started during Beyond Light, which is when sunsetting happened.
Yeah. Well, regardless of why they did it, I mean, like I said, I don't necessarily notice, but it could just be that it's been so long that I just wouldn't notice it anymore.
Yeah.
But either way, like I said, sunsetting still, I mean, it's still haunting them to this day, and I stand by that still worst decision ever. As far as the new stuff coming in, as a standalone, I mean, there's a lot of negativity towards it right now. Granted, I think a lot of this, and I'll be honest, not necessarily fair, but still, it's earned, but maybe not necessarily fair. I mean, again, the mode might be fun, but it's also, and I also understand it might be hard to think up new game modes too. I mean, there's only so many ways you can do, hey, shoot, take out all these enemies, and, whatever. But the problem is, like I said, and this is what a lot of people are also complaining about, and I still stand by it, that they keep trying, like, they don't do just a simple thing. They don't do something simple, like just make the survival mode and be done with it. They've always got to have a bunch of other bells and whistles on it. I think they're trying to overdevelop some of these times, and it's just not working, because it always ends up the same. You've always got to have some mechanic where you got to pick some crap up or protect something. All the extra stuff isn't fun. And there are plenty of people that are, like I say, currently saying, not saying that it's going to be bad, but plenty are saying, I mean, this does not look like it's going to be something that's fun.
Yeah.
Not something that they'd want to do 50 rounds of. And I'm looking at the different rounds. I don't necessarily know I want to do 50 rounds of some of this stuff either. Now, it might be better when we get out there or when we take a look at it, but we'll get our hands on it. We'll see.
We'll see. From what I can tell, from what I've been looking up while we were discussing, the earliest I've seen of reports of when they announced that Into the Light was November of last year.
Okay.
So let's see, November. So basically, it's been only a couple of months at best.
Yeah, and it probably would take some time to announce that, and yeah, they only have a few months to, at most, because November, December, January, February, March, so 4 months. Probably less than that, 3 months, and then polish out the bugs, so call it, we'll give them time and say 4 months to develop. That's not a lot of time for something like this. Mm-hmm. So I get it, but I also don't think it should take a lot of time to just put in a horde mode. And I think part of it is, again, they're overthinking it and trying to stylize everything. But I think they also shot themselves in the foot by trying to make this tie into the story, too. Like, you don't need to tie into the story. Like, the story is that, and again, this is not a spoiler because they said this in the stream. The story is that we're putting up defenses for, the final, or the last city while we're taking on the Witness. It doesn't really make sense we're putting up defenses, but we're getting attacked right now. Like, how are we getting attacked now? We're supposed to be putting up defenses. I think they tried too hard on this. Just give us... Go ahead. Yeah,
from what I can tell and what they mentioned in the live stream, the Witness has figured out our little plan. Our little plan by sending a little crow in through the season of the... whatever season we're in right now, because I keep forgetting the name of season of the Wish. The Witness somehow knows what we're planning with Crow, and in order to prevent us from assembling the troops while he goes in, while Crow goes in, he's trying to the Witness is trying to stop us from ever being properly ready to go take it out during the final shape.
Which is weird because they keep retconning their own information, because supposedly the Witness has no idea what we're doing out here. Now suddenly the Witness not only knows what we're planning, but he can send instructions to the outside. That doesn't make any sense. I think they tried too hard on this one, story-wise. And mechanically, they could have just put in a horde mode. They could have easily said, hey, Kyle's got simulations going. Go in and simulate, do a horde mode, whatever. And been done with it. I mean, it's even lore friendly because Saladin has got simulations going for his Iron Banner, for his Iron War Beast. We could easily go in there and simulate horde modes ourselves. That would have been an easy fix, an easy story fix right there. We're going in and prepare to fight the witness. Let us go in and do simulations. We can do as many waves as we want to, see how long we can survive, and then we get prizes depending on how far we go. That was simple. You don't got to stretch and retcon all your lore to make it work, or put a bunch of unneeded mechanics in.
Either that, or Ziva or Raph is still salty that we basically evicted her out of her throne world.
Yeah, that too. I think after a while, it's not necessarily, and don't get me wrong, I blame the executives for a lot of the issues at Bungie, but I think after a while too, I think there's so many ideas that they want to do, and they let different people get in charge of some of the shit, and it doesn't mesh very well. I think this is definitely one of those times. I think they had to oh shit and make something up. And I think as far as the story goes, the story team just wanted to pull something out of their ass to once again retcon something and make another big bad, even though we've got the big bad right now, but somehow the big bad is doing even bigger, badder things that he's not supposed to be able to do right now, but somehow he can. And now we've got lore that doesn't make sense, and we got a non-horde mode that people are upset about.
They're upset about the fact that it's taking place in a Crucible map instead of its own dedicated, brand new location. That the rewards are reissued gear. That there's a whole lot. I can't from a player perspective, I get it, but at the same time, like we've discussed, 4 months at best minimum is not a lot of time to make a new armor set, to make a new weapon set entirely of every single weapon type, and have fun.
And again, this is not us complaining about something random that just popped up for like a new game. This is not like when I talked about the issues Helldiver 2 has, which you fuckers crucified me for, but whatever. What I said was still fair in the second video. I gave you the issue I had in the first one, but this is not us crucifying a new game because, it's got issues and people are loving the game and we got issues with it. This is not us being upset at a poor developer who's just trying their best to make a game work. No, this is, when I say this has been years in the making, like it's almost like they planned out how bad this is going to go as far as the shit they sunset, other things, or the ways they've been handling the game, the ways they've been handling community. Like, it is almost, I would not be shocked if this went down in some kind of college textbook on how not to handle a game or how not to handle a company. If this goes under and they get taken over by Sony. I would not be surprised if this becomes a textbook example of what not to do with a development company.
Mm-hmm.
And that is crazy because I could not fuck up this bad if I wanted to. And you're right what you said earlier. I mean, the community has basically told them exactly what to do, and somehow they managed to do the exact opposite every single step of the way. Like that, at that point, it's either one of two things: either you are being malicious or you're incompetent. It's got to be one or the other. If they're not doing it on purpose, then that means they're incompetent. If they're not incompetent and they know what they're doing, that means they've been doing this on purpose the entire time. This can only be one of the two.
And Bungie leadership is mostly, it's 100% subscribed to the blame, and not only that, but also it's the main reason all of the issues that's been stockpiling up throughout the years, this decade, if you will, has always been the incompetency of Bungie leadership. Every leadership that got inflated egos because of Halo, who used Halo as a sort of, look at me, I did this, follow my advice, because we made Halo, and now it's biting them in the ass. And unlike Microsoft, who was willing to let it slide as long as they kept making the Halo, Sony is like, nope, I don't care.
Well, I mean, they're not.
You fucked up.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing too.
You
Sony even said that they have lightning in a bottle, or they're treating Destiny 2 like lightning in a bottle. But Bungie's basically fucking it up right now. So now they want to fix it. It's just a matter of how to do it. And that includes, and that's one of the big points I wanted to mention before too. One of the big points is monetization. How the game is monetized. They want to fix that too because no one knows how to buy the game. There are two games that I absolutely hate buying or doing anything with, and that is if you're a new Destiny 2 player, you have no idea how to buy the game because you can buy the base game, but no one knows what expansions to get. As a matter of fact, I think they were still selling the expansions that were about to be sunset up to the point they were being sunset.
But right now you can get the Forsaken pack, which it's just a fancy way of saying, hey, you can now play Last Wish. You can actually equip and earn Last Wish exotics. No, not Last Wish exotics. I mean Forsaken era exotics, and the Shattered Throne dungeon.
Yeah.
Then Shadowkeep is still available. You can still buy it at whatever price point they have it. Maybe it's on sale. Maybe it's at full price or at a reduced price because it's been 4 years at this point. Beyond Light and Witch Queen. Everything.
It's so bad.
I could understand up to Witch Queen, Witch Queen, Beyond Light, Witch Queen, and now Lightfall being you need to buy these. But everything before Beyond Light,
that should be base.
They need to be free. Needs to be accessible to the new Light player.
Well, here's the thing too. That's basically the base game now because they got rid of the base game. They got rid of the Red War. So that's basically what the new base is, and it's still confusing on how to buy it.
No, the base game at this point is literally just an abridged version of the Cosmodrome missions from Destiny 1. And then once you get to the tower, you're pretty much left to your own devices besides some intro quests with Zavala, Shax, Drifter, and every single one of the vendors. Other than that, there's not much else for the new Light player outside of the free raids like Vault of Glass, King's Fall, and such.
Well, it's not just that. Too. Think about the dungeons. The dungeons are sold separately. That's also confusing. The dungeons are sold separately. The season passes are sold separately. There's not a subscription base, so you got to figure out what expansions you got to buy. You got to figure out what dungeons you got to buy, because I don't think any dungeon comes with anything. You got to figure out your season passes. All that's like 3 different ways to monetize the game. That's all terrible on top of the cash store with that. That's confusing to a lot of players. Now, granted, I know you played, pretty much since the game came out, so we've got everything built up. We haven't had to go through and buy it all again. But the new Lights are complaining like they have no idea what they're supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to be playing.
Because there's no narrative through line.
Yeah, and Bungie has already proven that they will continue to monetize stuff that's going to get removed from the game up until the point it gets removed from the game. And not mention it either. And they're also proved that stuff like the starter pack issue that was also early this year, that terrible starter pack that had nothing in it that would take more than an hour to get in game, and they were monetizing it for what was it, $15? That was I think that was the price of a dungeon. That. Yeah.
For the price of a dungeon, you get a full legendary armor set,
like a shitty exotic and some shaders.
Cold Heart from 2017.
That was a pre-order bonus for ordering Destiny 2. That was a pre-order bonus for ordering Destiny 2.
Now, granted, they have buffed it to a point where it's actually usable in several builds involving ionic traces. It's good for that, but since Bungie nerfed double special,
it's
kind of follow.
No new player would know that either. It's supposed to be a new player, starter pack. No new player would possibly know that. That's not stuff that you would need in a starter pack. And I think a couple of enhancement cores stuff, I don't think it was enough to really enhance anything, really. It was just a random assortment of bullshit. They finally got it taken down. I don't know if they gave anybody refunds, but stuff like that has got to change. And I think I'm hoping that's what Sony does. So I'm not saying Sony's necessarily going to come in and not try to monetize the hell out of Destiny 2 either. They probably would. But in different ways that at least would make sense. It wouldn't be as predatory. Granted, I still think Destiny 2's monetization is shitty and predatory, but at least it would probably make sense, and they wouldn't be trying to charge you for stuff that's gone.
And that's the reason why a lot of people are looking at Sony like some sort of savior.
Exactly.
Because even if they have a new different monetization model that's different, it's either the same or similar to what we have. Anything that Sony will introduce will be seen as some sort of the godsend or something. Like it will be met with thunderous applause.
Made a video
by the community
a while ago about how bad AAA games were, and I was like, pretty much any game that comes out that's at least decently fun to play is going to be seen as basically savior-worthy in nowadays. Like, I talked about Helldivers 2. Again, I got some shit about it, but I made a point that I still stick to that's valid. I'm like, Helldivers 2, the gameplay is still very simplistic. It's nothing crazy. It's fun, don't get me wrong, it's fun with friends, but it's still a $40 game that's still nothing crazy. It's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing new in the game to do. Yes, there's a game master. Even that's not necessarily new. It's not a real new common thing. There's nothing innovative in there. Not saying there has to be, but there's nothing like innovative in the game. It's, a fairly simple game, and the mechanics are pretty basic, even if it is difficult. That's great. But something like that is essentially Game of the Year contender, not necessarily because it in itself is so innovative, because it's not. It's not groundbreaking, it's not innovative. It is fun as hell. It is some crazy, silly-ass fun, but it's also been propped up a lot because AAA gaming just sucks that bad. And I think we got the same thing going on right now with Bungie and Sony. I think Bungie has screwed up so bad that the still bad guy in the situation, Sony, that is still a bad guy in the industry, and as close, I think someone says it was 4 studios in 4 years that just laid off 900 people, or is laying off 900 people, that they are seen as a good guy. It's not saying how good Sony is. That just tells you how bad Bungie is right now. And that's a pretty sad state of affairs. And that's coming from someone who's been playing for a long time, who will hate to not play the game, because I do enjoy the game quite a bit. And it's not that we're hating on the game, too. I mean, if we didn't like the game, we would be indifferent to it. I mean, if we're talking shit about it now, it's because we love the game, we want it to be better. If we didn't care about it, we would just wouldn't talk about it. I just wouldn't talk about it, period. We want it to be better. But we're in a situation now where it's, like you said, the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, we're at the point where the lesser of two evils is definitely Sony, and that is scary. And this is coming from a Sony fanboy who literally is using a PlayStation 5 at this point. And So Sony is being looked as a savior, but let's be honest, the main reason why Sony's coming down hard on them is because one of the main reasons, this is pure conjecture, don't take this as a grain of salt, but Sony paid an extra amount of money for talent retention. How's that looking for them? So they're not happy that they just spent an extra amount of money that will not be disclosed of for keeping talent. Why is this talent going away? Well, explain, Bungie.
Even if
I gave you extra money, why did you just deleted the reason I gave you this extra money?
Well, keep in mind too, it's not necessarily the talent they got rid of. They got rid of the security teams too, the QA teams, which is again when we had almost a year and a half of back-to-back seasons where every season Bungie was breaking random things in their game, which we hadn't forgot about. I mean, they were literally breaking things that don't even make sense every damn season, and it was every single season. Not just the servers having issues, but the gameplay itself having severe issues. I mean, how many times did we have exotics that were basically banned and locked for like months at a time before they finally got fixed? I mean, that was a constant thing where we had exotics that just didn't work, or were certain game modes didn't work, or we had servers down for days and at a time. Like, that's really unacceptable. And yeah, even if Sony didn't pay for extra talent, I'm not saying they did, I don't know what all they paid for, but they're basically like, you guys have, like, this should have been an easy investment, and they're fucking it up this bad. And it was. This was an easy investment to make. Destiny 2 has got a huge community. By all means, this game should be great. I mean, Destiny 2 does do something that no other game does. It's got some of the best weapons handling. It's got some of the best power fantasy out there. It's got some of the best build crafting now anyway. Even before this does some pretty decent build crafting. But it does some things that almost no other game can do. and and again, not unique, but the best at it. And they're basically ruining it with shitty executive decisions and poor monetization and bad QA. So he's like, this should have been easy. And the fans like this should have been easy. Like, they're literally like, how, like, it really is hard to harp on. Like, how can you literally have a fan base? I can go into the forums right now and find about 20 ways to improve or fix the game right now. That actually makes sense. Not just people talking random shit, but people actually are like, hey, we would like to do this or bring this back, and it's been talked about quite a bit, and they just ignore it, or, like I said, it's either incompetence or it's malice. It's one of the two. So,
or the classic Bungie, or the classic corporate response, it is a resource issue.
Yeah, which is bullshit. It's not usually a resource issue. It's the executives did something stupid, and now we've got to fix whatever it is they want us to do again at the last minute. That's the reason. The resource issue is, and they talked about it in that email I asked across Scott, misusing company assets. I think that's a lot of what it is when they talk about misusing company assets. I think a lot of it is that the devs are having to rework or do a bunch of extra work because executives are making them do stupid shit or restart shit or have different ideas or are pushing and pulling. I got an idea that's what they mean by resource management. And there might be some other stuff too, but I got a feeling that might be what it is, and it's just Sony corporate speak for these dudes don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're wasting time and money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was something about DMG or the former Bungie community manager said something to to that degree that the higher ups were like, we need to invest in something else instead of, oh, right, the that management was like, sure, this can help with community sentiment, but how can we monetize the shit?
Yeah, sounds about right.
And that's basically one of the main reasons why, like, nothing got done. Like, literally, the grunts in Bungie were basically screaming at the top of their lungs, "We can do this! If we allocate enough resources to do this, we can knock this out in like a month or 2 months or whatever." But leadership was like, why do that when we could just monetize this other thing?
Yeah, or put 2 extra armor sets in Eververse and do that instead. I mean,
At this point,
we're never short on new armor in the Eververse. We're never short of events where it's $20 for an armor set per character. We're never short of that. But we sure do got some content issues or some QA issues, some quality of life issues that don't seem to be getting fixed.
Mm-hmm.
That's currently what's going on. There's 2 more live streams to come out. Like I said, if they were anything like they were today, I fully expect them to get torn apart in the comments again and in the live streaming.
The main reason why this one got torn apart was because it went for way too long with quote unquote average or mediocre gameplay. Because a lot of people who play this game, who's a sort of super casual game, and they think they're hot shit, and they look at the gameplay that the developer posted with that live stream, they think, this guy sucks.
I mean, I got the gameplay playing right now. I know you can't see it, but I got it playing in the background right now, and what you're saying is very accurate. And again, that's not trying to be cocky or anything. Like, it is very mediocre gameplay. It's like, it almost feels like if I was trying to play, but if I was trying to purposely slow myself down. Like, I was trying to purposely look like I was trying, but I wasn't trying.
To be fair, though, the guy is trying to play the game plus answer, like, a lot of dev questions at the same time.
That's what every Sherpa does that every weekend, going through Water Glass. So I really got no sympathy on that one. Like, this is one these guys should be able to play this and do this like no problem. They should be able to answer the questions and at least play it. And again, it's not even like they're playing halfway decent. I mean, some of this is just bad. But again, that might also be very, very biased on opinion, just because, again, technically speaking, you and I would be considered high-end players in like the top 10 or even 1% just because of the activities we do. So technically speaking, yes, we are like those top 1% players. So I will fully admit that part of that is bias, but when you've got the entire comment section also saying that too, it's not just us. It's not just us.
it was not. It's not. So it's not just the gameplay, but it's also the fact that they literally showed nothing besides the gameplay of like cool the gameplay, but for a lot of people, myself included, show us the loot. Give me the loot. Give me the reason why I'm going to waste an hour of my time.
Yeah, an hour of gameplay, and we saw a hung jury drop, and that's all I remember dropping. Like, I see the damn pistol in his hand, but seriously, that's it?
Like cool.
Like, I'm bored of the event, bored of the activity now, and I haven't played it yet.
Well, to be fair, if you played enough Warframe Defense, you're kind of bored of it anyway in any game. Period.
I'll give you that one. But yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. We got 2 more live streams to go. I fully expect the next one to be something along gear, like the new weapons gear we're going to get it, which are probably more interesting.
That's the reason. That's basically what they mentioned. They basically said on live stream, this one is all about the game mode Onslaught. That's the name of the game mode that we've been yapping about for this entire time.
Yeah, which could have been done. Onslaught. Which could have been shown in 5 minutes. By the way, they did not need an hour to show us this. We get it. They didn't need, like, most of this is self-explanatory. 10 minutes maybe. 10 minutes maybe. They didn't need to spend an hour doing this.
Yeah, like at least until wave 10. After that, they could have just stopped there and kind of move on to the next bullet point, I guess.
And the information they were giving us in between, like I said, I can barely remember any of it. Like, the gameplay and them talking at the same time wasn't really mentioned well, but it's just... I'll be honest with you. I mean, and this is the part where we're going to be completely subjective. So this is where we'll probably be the one where I might get in trouble at. But the presenters were not very great either. Like, they were very boring. And like I said, I get they probably have a different culture than I'm used to. I'm used to theater culture from like high school. I did a lot of theater. I did theater professionally too as a technical, or I used to do like lighting design. I did some sound technician and stuff. I mean, I did technical theater for some years after high school and in high school. So they've got their own culture, very definitive. They got some very unique stuff you'd see in there, but these people are just weird. Like, the presenters were very off-putting, to be honest. Like, some of it was like stage cringe, and some of it was just...
Yeah. I'm going to play devil's advocate and say this if this was shown during a GDC, Game Developers Conference, it would have been pretty mellow. No one would kind of care about it because it's being shown among peers, so they know more or less what they're talking about. Will it resonate with the consumer? Probably not. And that's what we're seeing with the whole backlash, because they're talking like this is a GDC instead of like trying to spin this as people to try and get people excited for this.
Which again comes back to that poor executive decisions again, because that should have been pretty much known from the get-go that any community manager probably would have slid to this and said, hey, that's not what they want to see, or we probably shouldn't divide this into 3 separate live streams. Again, this seems common sense to me, but again, not...
Here's the thing, though. Among the people that did lay off, besides quality assurance (QA), most of the Destiny community management were also gutted. Like most of them are gone, with the exception of Cosmo and the Spanish European side of Bungie. Like most of Destiny community management is literally just Cosmo, some new dude that they brought in, and like maybe a couple more junior managers, I guess you could say. Some new guys, some new blood. Literally everybody else got the axe. Yeah. So anybody that might have told them, hey, this doesn't seem like this is gonna work out.
Yeah, or maybe cut it down by 20 minutes or so, or maybe talk about some other stuff, or maybe do 2 streams instead of 3.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if they expand on the that this week's TWAB is going to expand on what was shown during the live stream. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, yeah, probably.
which is why they're kind of splitting it into three, because they're gonna show us what it is, and then they're going to tell us in the TWAB.
But yep, that's about an hour mark for us. Like I said, that was a live stream. That was the video that Acid released about the unconfirmed email that was apparently sent. I think it was him, Percy, his agent. So like basically somebody really wanted him to see this email. He said so. They sent it to basically everyone that could possibly get a hold of Astacross. It was sent to. I don't know that it was sent to anybody else. Now Astacross is one of the biggest Destiny 2 streamers, but I don't know if he or content creators. I don't know if he's the biggest, but he's definitely one of the biggest. I don't know if anybody else necessarily got the email too, but he's the only one who's made a video about it, if there is anybody else who got it. Maybe the rest of them got it and haven't had a chance to make a video. Maybe they want to confirm it. We don't know. We just know that Astacross got it, and he talked about it, and it matches up with a lot of what we've suspected and a lot of what we've seen in the game just as players, and a lot of what we heard too from different articles and even from the devs themselves. So that's what's currently going on. The next one, I think it's the same time next week, the next stream, right?
Yeah, basically next week at reset.
Yeah,
we're gonna get the.
Making these so far apart too is also so asinine. Like I'll say that for next one. I don't want to go too far for an hour, but yeah, I'm gonna go in personally. I'm gonna have to call this week's stream a miss this week just because it was too long for too little information. Not necessarily a bad thing. Again, it was only gonna expect so much from a few months.
4 months of devs.
Yeah, but then again, let's also not forget that technically speaking, each expansion should only take about a year to do. So. Technically, they should have about a quarter of a year's worth of stuff in there. That might be thinking too much because they're also still working on the expansion. But so far, underwhelming. That's what. And this is just not just me. This is again, damn near every comment in here. Reused assets. I mean, they're using them, I guess, to the best of their ability. But underwhelming so far. That might change with the next two streams. So we're keeping an open mind. I'd say I got my hopes up, honestly. Like, again, I think the community's ready to see some leadership changes at the very least in Bungie. So I think for the developers to probably, crap themselves. I know Bungie's crap themselves, but for the community, I think they see that as an absolute win. As far as the live stream goes, as of right now, it's an absolute loss until we get more information. We'll see if splitting up like that was a good idea or not. I guess we'll find that out next week. But any final thoughts here, X?
Do you want to talk about the marathon thing or no?
We can talk about it. I mean, I haven't heard too much more about it because I don't follow it. I do know that it's basically being funded by Destiny 2, which is something that's kind of always upset me ever since we started having issues with it. I get, if you got your main game and you want to do some other projects, okay, it makes sense that you would take some of the profits from Destiny 2 and push those over to develop another game. But not to the detriment of that game, that original game. Because if that dies, all your other projects go away. So it seems like it's been a weird choice, in my opinion. Because I know they're also relying on Marathon quite a bit. They're hoping that this is lightning in the bottle again. They're hoping that this is going to be their next big game. I personally don't think it's going to be. But regardless of whether it is or not, I think that them developing these other games and putting so much into them while letting Destiny 2 atrophy this way has been a very poor choice, which again I chalk up to leadership 100%.
Oh no, yeah, I think that was because Bungie wanted to be more than just a one game developer. They want to be the next BioWare, the next Bethesda. They want to make more than just one game and keep building on that one game. They wanted to do more than just Destiny, more than just Halo.
Yeah, which I can understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're necessarily wrong wanting to do that,
but the issue is that Destiny is a bigger undertaking that they can ever handle. They've handled it poorly, but somehow they're still alive. While every other developer that has tried to follow in their footsteps has crashed and burned on the same exact problems that even Destiny is still struggling with. Not enough content. Yeah. Not enough time to develop this set content.
That's just a live service model in general. Not enough content. That's what kills live service games, that they can't keep up with it.
Yeah, it's basically what was it? It's basically the new version of the MMO boom
And the
of
problem
the
is
of
that
the of,
MMOs,
of
though,
the
they
two.
don't typically get rid of their old content too. And like, I'm never gonna get over the sunsetting thing. Every conversation we have, I'm gonna talk about the sunsetting. Like, hey, what'd you name a kid? Hey, I named him this. He's 5 pounds 2 ounces. Hey, do you know Destiny sunset just the content, killed himself? I'm never gonna get over that.
Yeah,
Um,
I get it. I get it. Don't get me wrong.
but yeah,
But
live
the
service is
but
hard to keep up with that stuff.
and it's very hard to. It's if it's evidenced by Bungie and the fact that we're still talking about it, and the fact that every other game, live service game, has followed in their footsteps, or at least tried to emulate them in some form or fashion,
Now,
has crashed and burned catastrophically, and haven't lasted longer than 2 years at best with Marvel's Avengers.
now, don't get me wrong though. I'm happy
Hmm.
about that. I hate the idea of live service games, and Destiny did not used to be a live service game. I remember back when live service games, and I've talked about this again before, I remember back when some developers like live service games are the future, and the entire gaming community was up in arms saying, no, 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 that's not going to be the future. We don't want this. Now here we are, live service this, live service that. If I so much as criticize a live service game that people like, again, I got crucified for talking about Helldivers 2, about its monetization, people are up in arms now defending the shit. And I'm like, dude, just not too long ago, we were talking about we didn't want games to be live service. We were like, this is an asinine thing to do. How could you do this? And now here we are trying to defend them. Again, I'm not saying we are here, but I am saying I'm 100% happy that live service games are failing because that's still a line in the sand that I've, drawn the line on. I do not approve of them. Now, has Destiny 2 turned into one? Yes. Have they had issues ever since they've done that? Yes. Am I happy they've had issues? Yes. Should they go back to not being a live service? Yes, but I don't know if they can do that at this point. Because as much as it's argued about, Destiny has always been an MMO. Granted, it's a first-person shooter, but it's still a massive multiplayer online game, by definition. And it followed the basic MMO pattern of having your main story, you had like some raids or some strikes and stuff, and then that was it. You put out an expansion every year. That was fine. You might do some events, you might have some additional stuff. All that was fine. The problem came when they tried to divide up a lot of the stuff for the expansions into the seasonal content, and that's where they got fucked up at. Because now they've essentially got to divide up their story into all these pieces. Now we've got the issues where they had Lightfall, where we didn't get a damn thing in Lightfall story-wise, and then they gave us stuff afterwards. And chopping up their story, and now you can never go back and do those stories. And now, because all that information is missing, again, they're running into issues to where nobody can follow their game anymore if they hop into it. So I 100% love the fact that the live service model for Destiny 2 is failing so hard. I hope they get rid of it. And I hope going forward with the episode, it's just here's the story. This content will always be here. You can play it, do what you want. Once you're done with it, go play another game, and then come back and play this when the next expansion comes out. It should never be a live service to where you have to sit there and grind every day, all day to do something in the game. It should be, hey, you want to run and do your raids this week? That's great. If you want to do everything all in the first week and be done with the story and have all the items and everything, and then leave again for 6 months and come back when the new expansion comes out, fine, let them do that. I hate the fact that we've had the seasonal model where it's feeding us week by week 5 minutes of story content, and then we come back and do 2 hours of random bullshit for 5 more minutes of story content. I've hated that since it's come out. I loved when we could just go through, grind everything we wanted in the first week, and be done with it, and then come back. I know a lot of people complain like, oh, there's no content, there's nothing to do. Oh, well, if you want to grind through the content, fine, grind through the content, but then take the stance that I'm not going to say every other game company does, but some of the better games that I've played do. When you're done with the content, go play other games. There's other games to play. You can come back to this one. But this idea that you got to stay playing the game and Bungie has to try to milk us for all the money they can get from the Eververse to put all the cool stuff behind there and carve out stuff with season passes and carve out stuff with dungeons. That's what started to kill them to start with for monetization. And that's also started to kill them as far as story-wise because those have gone hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess long story short is, I hope Marathon fails and I hope Bungie stops trying to use Destiny 2 to fund their other games at the expense of Destiny 2. Not that they can't use Destiny 2 to do that, but Destiny 2's got to come first. That's their primary. Destiny 2's got to come first. Once Destiny 2 and our community is taken care of, then take that extra profit and then go try to do something else.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about that because even if it releases the news that was released today kind of blew up in their face. It just completely blew up because apparently 9 months ago, the current developer, the current creative director for Marathon, Christopher Barrett, or what people consider him, the savior of Destiny, because every time that he's been involved in an expansion, it's usually the expansion that quote unquote saves Destiny. You're taking kings.
Sound like some information I haven't gotten today. I can't. I sound like you got something I haven't heard today. I'm excited now.
Like the guy who no, don't be excited because this is gonna suck.
Okay.
Apparently 9 months ago, the guy who was spearheading the marathon and making it what people wanted it to be, apparently he was mysteriously shuffled out of that position at Marathon, and a newcomer came in who was the creative director at Riot's Valorant game, and now Marathon, a extraction shooter video game, which is kind of like Escape from Tarkov or The Division's Dark Zone, is now all of that, but it's also the second most hated two words in the gaming community: hero shooter.
Oh, God.
And people like that, between the two most hated the top two most hated double words, well, two phrases in the gaming world right now is live service or games as a service, and the last one, hero shooter. Nothing kills hype more than not being a nameless, faceless protagonist. Now your character has personality.
See, I would think if they were going to do that anyway, I would have thought that they would have gotten rid of the extraction shooter aspect and just given it the story and given it an actual like RPG aspect or something like that. Like that would be the way I would think they would go with that. It looks like they've gone the totally opposite way. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy this. I enjoy this information, like I really do. Like I don't want to be that person that says I hope a game dies. But like I said, the fact that it's basically, and again, I know this is technically speaking the execs, but I personally almost feel like this game has attacked Destiny 2. I guess that's an unfair way to feel. So I guess I don't hope the game dies. But I will say this, it's a game that Bungie keeps hyping up that I have not given a damn about, especially in the midst of everything going on with the game that I do love. So I guess that's more of a fair statement.
The problem with extraction shooters is that it's already a hard sell to a more casual audience, because the main reason, that's one of the main reasons why even the Division, which is still going around, by the way, it's still technically alive. The problem is that the Dark Zone, or the place where all bets are off, if you want it, where friendly fire is enabled. Yep. And if you see somebody with cool loot on their back,
kill them and take it.
Kill them and take it. Be an asshole about it.
See, that screwed up a few games. That screwed up a few games. That's what changed New World. New World was originally going to be not an extraction shooter, but they were going to be an RPG. I don't know if you ever played it or not, but it was the RPG or the MMO that came out from Amazon. Originally, it was supposed to be essentially PvP all the time, and if you died, you dropped all your shit right there. That game died because, like you said, you can't get a casual audience with that. People don't want to go up against a bunch of tryhards when they feel like they can't progress, and then all it's up to the tryhards, and they're complaining that there's nobody there to play against.
Yeah, the only people that they play against is either just as sweaty as them, or worse, people that cheat. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. I have no information about what's happening with Escape from Tarkov, but I'm pretty sure they're also going through the same issues as well. Technically, in the broadest sense, it's also a live service video game, but not a lot of people fucking play it. It doesn't have the mainstream appeal because it has a very big asterisk that says, "Hey, you can play this and you can find enjoyment of it, but there's a very high likelihood that someone's gonna screw you over. That all of your hard work is gonna be screwed over by some prick.
Yeah. That's what, and don't get me wrong, I don't play it from Tarkov, I don't follow it out, so I don't know how popular it is, but that's essentially what's killed me from playing certain games is that, hey, there's a huge PvP element to this, and it's so intrusive that all your hard work can literally be destroyed overnight at the drop of. That's why I didn't play ARC PvP servers. Like, that's the main reason I refuse to play ARC PvP servers. I would play ARC, I actually played on the official ARC servers. For quite a bit, I was in a huge clan. In fact, I had one of the first bases when Aberration came out. I basically solo made it up with me, one other guy, but it was a huge clan base, and I used to damn near, probably the second biggest tribe on there, and I used to actually run people down to get rock drakes. Like, I was one of the main people on there. We had a huge cross-server guild, and I used to play on that one, but only for PvE. I refused to play PvP because I'll be damned, and I was really into ARC back in the days, by the way, before me and my wife got married. This was years ago. I was actually one of those people that, on the official servers, was raising, 15, 20 wyverns for my clan at a time. Like, I would literally wake up every 4 hours to go out and hunt down wyvern milk to feed our wyverns. We would all get on and imprint them, and we'd be having these perfect wyverns. Like, I would actually be there playing the events. My wife, my girlfriend at the time, would have my alarm going off at 2 in the morning. She's like, you gotta get the rock or the wyverns, or did you get you guys? I'm like, yeah, I'm going up to get them now. I'll be raising T-Rexes and Gigas. I used to do that shit. I'll be damned if I go through a year of putting in actual time into a game. One, I'm never doing that shit again, first off, by the way. That's the first off. So some of the games like Power World that come out and did that, I immediately turned down all the timers on the eggs and shit. I'm not spending days raising any creature again ever. So my server has got you raise your eggs in 5 minutes. I'm never doing that again. Keep in mind, if you want to play on the Power Word server, let me know, because we got one. But I will never do that shit again. But I will never, ever play any game where I can literally put that much work in, wake up, and somebody's gone through and not just destroying my damn base, but one was probably able to glitch their way through and beat it, because you could have bases that were glitched underneath. People could glitch through your base. They could do a bunch of stupid shit and destroy your base for you. I'll be damned if I ever wake up and play any game where I come back and have that happen to my damn base. I don't play Minecraft Anarchy servers anymore. I will never play Rust. I will never play any game where it's just pure anarchy and people just come and destroy all your fucking hard work overnight when you're not on. Because I refuse to have a game like that where I literally have to be glued to the game 24/7. And if I'm by myself versus an entire clan, and I log off for a night or for 5 minutes, and I so much do that, all the work I put in is gone. I will never do that again. I will never play an extraction shooter where I can just get my ass killed by somebody after doing hours worth of work, and they just walk up and take all my shit just because they're in the right place at the right time. Or because they just all want to gang up on me, or they just want to be dicks or whatever. I will never do that.
Yeah, and that's the main reason why the Division has never taken off. Well, the Division has its own set of issues, but the Dark Zone has always been the major issue that most people like. Nah, this ain't it. And that's one of the main reasons why Bungie has been kind of running unopposed all this time, because every single person that's tried to at least go into that space they need to find some sort of unique wrinkle for their own to make them a bit more unique or different than Destiny, and that particular wrinkle or gimmick is not worked out.
Well, and here's the thing, too. You don't necessarily have to have that gimmick. I mean, Destiny doesn't have that gimmick. Anthem could have easily taken over. I'm not going to say they would have beaten Destiny, but I will say that Anthem could have been good. But we heard about what development for Anthem was like. They went through similar what Bungie went through with Destiny 1. They were changing up Anthem up until the last damn minute. I mean, I read the article. I forgot who did it, but there was a brilliant
Jason Schreier.
He did a brilliant article on that. And if you haven't watched or read it, I suggest you go through and take a look at it. But he did a brilliant article where he talked about just not only the most horrific working conditions, but he talked about how literally up until the last minute, they had executives coming down and saying, hey, change this entire base of this game, or change all of this and make this game this, or he would change his mind. And basically executives, just like happening with Bungie, fucking up the development time. Anthem could have been, I think Anthem was probably the last game I saw that could have been a true, and I know people say stuff like Destiny Killer and stuff all the time. I've seen very few games that can kill another game. I think that Anthem could have been a Destiny Killer if the executives had just let the devs cook.
If the executives at BioWare, because let's be real, let's be honest, even though it is just pretty much blasphemy on the internet to say that EA was not the bad guy here.
Oh yeah,
it was BioWare execs, because they didn't have nothing. They spent like 5+ years, according to the article, they spent like 5 years twiddling their thumbs, and when big bad handsome Jack impersonator, the big guy, the big wig at CEO, I forgot his name, Andrew Wilson of EA popped up and say, "Hey, BioWare, what are you up to with this Anthem thing?" They had nothing for him.
Yeah, that's
literally nothing. They had nothing for him. Then they showed him a proof of concept or a something, and then he finally said, "Do that. Whatever it is that you just did, do that." And they were like, "Fuck."
I mean, they had a flying mech shooter where you could fly around. Like, they had the ticket, like, with the concept that they showed us, at least. They had the ticket, and
that was the same video that they showed at Mr. Andrew Wilson.
Yeah.
They showed that same exact video to him, and he basically said, quote, "Whatever that is, I want it.
Yeah.
Bring it to life, whatever that is." And then they were like, and then BioWare execs basically shat their pants, because we have no idea what we just made. We have no idea how to even make this. And it wasn't until the game was releasing and they were trying and bumble their way through it that they realized, oh, this is what we should have done.
Yeah.
When the game was already released.
So,
like, Anthem was a travesty and a half.
Yeah. And they just up and abandoned it, too. I think they still could have fixed it and made it come back. They technically did have a Destiny 1. They had a bad launch. They still fixed Destiny 1, and they came over taking
Destiny 1, sorry for interrupting, but Destiny 1 was just as bad. The only problem is just as bad but the problem is that they managed to pull it off. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They pulled it off.
They lucked out and pulled it off. I don't know what happened with Anthem, but they did not pull it off. They did not pull it off.
No, because it was worse than Bungie, because BioWare had nothing going on for it. They had no idea how to even build something. They basically built the entire thing in the last 14 months of development. They just crunched like hell because of the quote unquote patent pending BioWare magic, where they crunch like hell.
Yeah.
They just massive crunch, no life in the core, and no life. People sleeping in their desks, waking up, and then doing everything at the last second to try and push this thing out the door. Mm. And the BioWare magic failed them hard, to the point where they had to now backtrack to gain public favor again by announcing Dragon Age 4. After rebuilding it twice, because it was going to be Anthem but Dragon Age. Then they rebuild it to what it is right now. What's about to release in next year?
I don't even know where Dragon Age is at this point. I'm currently working.
It's
working on Dragon's Dogma 2, but I hadn't even tracked Dragon Age 4 for a while, just because of how much bullshit was going on every time I heard about it. So, I should say how much we didn't hear about it.
Yeah, and now after announcing that they are going to fully go through Dragon Age 4, we're also going to get another Mass Effect 4. So every single big time single player developer that chased the same dragon known as Destiny and live service has failed tremendously, and now they had to essentially to buy back some goodwill, is to go back and just do an unnecessary fourth entry into their more storied franchises instead of making something new.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's not going to backfire even worse.
No. That's totally not going to backfire on BioWare with Dragon Age 4 and Mass Effect 4.
Mass Effect 4, definitely.
CD Projekt Red with making a Witcher 4. That was not necessarily in the cards.
And
But
after
CD
Cyberpunk
Projekt-
2077, they need to not fuck around with anything except for Cyberpunk right now and deliver with their. I think what's their newest project for that right now? It's. Let me double check and look that one up.
They are making a Cyberpunk 2 in a way, but they're doing a Cyberpunk 2, but it's going to be releasing after Witcher 4, and Witcher 4 is currently in pre-production. So
here we go, Project Orion. There we go. The sequel is going to be, or it's tentatively called Orion. It's still in early development.
And
we got that, and we're supposedly, I don't know if they're even going to do this anymore, the multiplayer
Cyberpunk
game.
2. Yeah, Cyberpunk 2 is not coming out until like the next generation of systems, like PlayStation 6 or 7, and whatever Xbox does. That's when Cyberpunk is going to come out, and maybe by that point, you'll be using a supercomputer to run it.
Well, but that's the problem. They're also skipping what they said they were going to do. They're coming out with a Cyberpunk 2. The next was supposed to be our Cyberpunk multiplayer game. That I was excited. I was excited for a Cyberpunk 2077 GTA 5 style. Imagine GTA 5, but with Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, imagine GTA Online, but with Cyberpunk 2077. Imagine that in GTA Online, and that would have been badass. But we're not getting that.
The thing is, they took the wrong lessons from GTA to make Cyberpunk 2077. It was because Cyberpunk 2022, which is the tabletop role playing game that the entire video game is based on.
Yeah.
It was all about doing RPG stuff and role playing stuff, and instead of doing any of that, they just went GTA. How do we do GTA, but our version of GTA? That was the biggest mistake of their entire lives. Like and we're primarily a third-person video game developer. Let's go into first person.
Yeah, that ended up lying. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up now because we're already an hour, about half an hour past what I wanted to do. But
all right, yeah,
next week we're gonna have another discussion about what they come out with. Hopefully, we get a little bit more than just weapons and armor, or we get substantial weapons and armor that they talk about, and it's not just a bunch of wasted airtime.
I honestly speaking, it's probably gonna be just weapons. I don't think they're ever gonna do an armor 4.0 or 3.0, wherever we are going with armor right now. I don't think we're gonna get to that point, because the only thing left that hasn't happened yet is armor set bonuses. They've toyed around with it with like.
We're gonna hold it right there because that is gonna open up a whole other conversation for us, because I got some ideas on that one. So I'm gonna write that one down. I'm gonna write it down for next time, because armor is one I want to talk about.
All right.
Okay, I'm typing it in now.
We don't have we don't have to wait until the live.
Yeah, we can talk about that one whenever. Yeah, I got that one written down. Armor bonuses. That'll be one of our. I'll just put a list of discussion topics.
That and probably whatever advances they make with weapons, because there might be something to discuss there.
Might be.
And there's also the episode leaks that we'll talk about at some point.
There you go.
Yes, there's
written down.
Yeah, because there is a leak of
there's
what to what. Let's see, where is it?
No, just hold it. I gotta get going in a minute, but
yeah,
that's been our discussion for today, guys. Appreciate y'all coming by. Like I said, this was our. Go ahead and check out the live stream. Check out As the Cross videos. I'm going to put both of those down in the description below. Again, thanks for coming by, Hex. You were here last time. I appreciate you coming and having these discussions with me. I always like having an outside perspective when looking at this stuff too, because I know I can be kind of cynical, and I mean, honestly, Bungie did this to me, but having someone to discuss this with helps.
It did it to everybody. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, but that's gonna do it for today, guys. Thank you for coming by, and I will see you all later.
Good night.